There is one judge in particular who most recently has drawn the ire of the conservative machine. James Boasberg of the District of Columbia. Elon Musk recently said he's a radical activist cosplaying as a judge. Donald Trump then also went on Fox News and said this.
Many people have called for his impeachment, the impeachment of this judge, but he's radical left.
Now look, that sounds like just the kind of pink-haired radical we don't want sitting on the bench. Of course, none of it is true. What if I told you he literally got Donald Trump elected in 2016? Let's back up here for a moment to 2016. Donald Trump, against all odds, had gotten himself the Republican nomination for president. He was running against Hillary Clinton, who at the time everyone thought was going to win the presidency. But then in the weeks and days before the election, there was a bomb dropped.
This morning, the FBI is looking into the private email server that Hillary Clinton used as Secretary of State.
Hillary Clinton had used a private email server from her own private residence, as opposed to using a government server, and a flood of Hillary Clinton's emails were released, keeping the flames of the scandal going right up until Election Day. Now, the Hillary Clinton campaign would later partially blame this whole situation on why she lost the 2016 election, which is a little rich, but she's not entirely wrong to point to this as being a big deal in the scheme of her campaign. And the timing of this was what was so critical. This all came out in the months, weeks, and days leading up to the November election in 2016. Which is interesting because the discovery of the private email server, the core of the scandal, was actually something that was discovered in 2015. So why did this become such a big thing in 2016 during the election year? Well, in May of 2016, a judge ruled that the State Department was required to expedite their release of all of Hillary Clinton's emails. And the emails were released in batches over the next several months, which took us right up into the 2016 election. Do you know where I'm going with this? Do you know who the judge who ordered the expedited release of those emails was? It was Judge James motherfucking Boasberg, the exact same judge that Trump is now out there calling a radical leftist on Fox News. So this leads us to two options. Perhaps, since tanking Hillary Clinton's hope of an electoral victory in 2016, which inadvertently handed the election to, checks notes, Donald Trump, perhaps since that time, the 62-year-old Judge James Boasberg has become a flaming pink-haired liberal who takes his chia seed enemas on the weekend and then likes to let roaming gangs of criminals loose in the streets of America during the week. Or perhaps the Trump administration has so egregiously violated due process in these deportation attempts and, frankly, other things they have tried to do in this administration, that even Judge James Boasberg, who has been very sympathetic to a number of conservative watchdog groups, was forced to issue a temporary restraining order on the facts of the case as they exist, in order to make sure that we are not just a nation of lawlessness driven by the executive branch who seems to think they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, and then accuse any judge who tries to stop them from doing that as being an activist radical. It's a toss-up. One of the two options. Who can really say?